lifelong friends. Then, in a bigger way, we create bridges across larger boundaries. Because BNI doesn't incorporate religion or politics, we have a chance to bring the world together in a way that other institutions cannot. BNI is like nothing else out there in the world today. And we are so thankful for Dr. Meisner for giving us this opportunity. And it is for life. How many of you have talked to a new member that says, you know, I'm just going to try BNI? How does creating something that I could give back? BNI gives us the opportunity to give back along the way. None of us are assured tomorrow, so isn't that a better way to go? I think so. And if not you, then who? You know, I think when we look at the world today, something's lost. We've forgotten globally that business with a purpose can be noble. Business with a purpose can be noble. The media has captured a lot of stories over the years of some folks that may not have incorporated our core values. But we believe here that business with a purpose can be noble. My hope, belief, and experience is that BNI creates opportunities, and it helps build stronger families and stronger communities. There's nothing that you can give a family or a parent if you can't give them an opportunity to provide for themselves and their family. That is where things start. And that's what we do. We provide opportunities. Sometimes I talk about BNI being a serendipity factory. How many of you have experienced being in an event like this where you had no idea walking in what connection would change your life? I see it happening right here. And so we enable business growth, job creation, economic development, and new opportunities worldwide. There are not many things in the world that are infectious that are good. But these core values and the passion for givers gain is infectious in a good way. In a good way. It's hard to ignore that passion when you see it in action. And so together we are changing the way the world does business. What I'd like to do is outline my vision and then some of the things that the global support team is doing to help. So first off, my vision is all of your visions as well, that BNI becomes the world's most powerful platform for global business development. And today, a lot of the experience that all of us have is within our chapter, and that's fantastic, and we want to build on that. But we want to open up entirely new markets. And so by a show of hands, how many of you would like to do business with a BNI member in another country? Absolutely. And you know, as I travel around the world, I ask that question, and I can assure you they want to do business with you as well. So we are helping to tell your story to make it easier to share all of the great things that you're doing online. We are working to make it easier than ever to incorporate mobile technology to make it more seamless, to pass referrals. We are working hard to have your expertise available to members when they first start on their journey with BNI. But you know, BNI University is a place to experience lifelong learning. Every day, more content gets added. Your content, your stories, your experience, your expertise. So I encourage you to keep coming back to BNI University and making that a key part of your lifelong learning. We're very focused on making sure that you have the right information at the right time in your journey. So we're launching platforms to help with that. And we have a range of additional projects from simplifying BNI Connect to GDPR. We take data security very seriously. To new training programs and upgrading existing training programs. We also want to modernize the experience. We're a business organization, so we want to be on the cutting edge of technology. As I mentioned, we want to open up cross-country referrals to make it easy to connect with BNI members and to provide referrals. We very much want to have events like this that are just marquee. And so Global Convention this year, I'll talk about in just a minute. One of the things that we do, which is it may be the most profound, is we launch new chapters. And when we launch new chapters, we create opportunity for those members in that community. And they pull in other business leaders to do the same. So Mission 9192 that was discussed earlier is focused on new chapter launch. And finally, my goal, and really I think yours as well, and there's Pavan, by the way. Pavan, raise your hand. Pavan is a superstar. My goal is that we are a member and director-led organization. And one of the ways that we do that is by launching rapid innovation teams of leaders like yourselves that help us understand how we can do things better. And so I applaud all of you that are involved. And we're just getting started. That's the fun part. We haven't scratched the surface of what BNI can do for the world. By any stretch, I got asked this question. I was in South Africa last week, and a BNI executive director said, you know, have you figured out exactly how big BNI can become? And I said, you know, we haven't really finalized that analysis, but by any stretch, there are, at a minimum, hundreds of millions of business people around the world that BNI can support, at a minimum, at a minimum. So we're just getting started on this exciting road together. When I think about the 10-year roadmap, it's very simple, and I love simple. And here it is. We want to listen to all of you very carefully and take a very humble approach in how we work. We want to have an intensive focus on your experience. The gentleman earlier, I thought, had a very smart way of putting it, that you really focus on the customer like a laser, not the vertical that you're in or the product or service that you're providing. You focus, in our case, on the member. And we increase our innovation and continue to grow and have that virtuous cycle. That's our goal and our 10-year plan. But it's only going to happen with your help. And these are some of the leaders here in India that are making it happen. This is the International Board of Advisors. So there are many ways for you to get involved and shape the future of BNI. And I encourage you to learn about those by talking to Morley, by talking to your executive director. And when the time is right, please get involved and help us move BNI into the next 30 years. The leadership that's happening here is amazing. And where's Arvind and Reed? Please stand up. And where's Arvind? There, stand up. So this is an example of exceptional leadership. And, you know, the enthusiasm that they have and the number of roles that they play within the organization is outstanding. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much. And when we think about BNI Mumbai specifically, I can tell you that the world of BNI is following your inspiration. And so I appreciate it. It's making an impact in regions and countries that you or I may never visit. So thank you. Your future is brighter than ever because the organization that we all are lucky to be affiliated with has a model that is more relevant than ever to the world. And for that reason, your future and the organization's future is brighter than ever. I'm not sure how many of you were at, I know a lot of you were at our global convention in 2015, and we had Mike Rayburn there. And this is a question I would encourage you to continue to ask yourself. Mike Rayburn challenged all of us, not just a talented musician, but a bit of a visionary, with this question. I know I can't, but what if I could? I know I can't, but what if I could? So if you do one thing at this Mumbai Members Day, this one, this year, today, if you do one thing, ask yourself that question. And you'll open up possibility. And when you look at all the leaders in this room that have achieved things beyond what they ever thought possible, it's because they asked themselves at a point in their career that question. The following year, we had Isaac Lidsky present, individual who had perfect sight as a child and grew up, and after starting a family, lost it because of a disease. And, you know, Ivan, for many of you that are seeing the podcast on being at a university and online, has a great way of saying this. He said, you know, sometimes what is in the way becomes the way. Sometimes what is in the way becomes the way. And the more I think about it, the more important that is to incorporate into all of our lives. And I know Isaac did that. And so today, what was in his way, his lack of sight, has become his way. And he couldn't be more happy or fulfilled than he is right now. And then Vern Harnish came and helped us understand, how do we scale up? How do we get our businesses to a point where we can provide for our family, provide for our community, and provide for the future? That was last year. So a resource that we all have at all times is Dr. Meisner. How lucky we are that we have these kind of leaders to learn from. And I always describe Dr. Meisner as a gem on the landscape of global business. It really is the case. So there's this team around the world that is there to support all of you and make you very successful, and excited to get to know you and do one-to-ones and build relationships. I invite you to visit any of our offices. Many of you have done that. And we love to have a chance to have lunch with you, have coffee, get to know you, and ask the question that we ask within BNI. How can we help? How can we help? I would encourage you, as you think about the rest of this year, if you're able, to attend BNI's global convention. It will be in Bangkok, Thailand, and this will be by far the largest event in BNI's history. The largest event in BNI's history. It will bring business leaders together from 73 countries that are driven by a purpose, and that's to help each other. I have no idea how much business is going to get done. I just know it's going to be a lot. I know it's going to be a lot. So I would really encourage you to consider attending the Global Convention in Bangkok if you have not already signed up. And well over 2,100 of you have signed up already. What I'll say here before I sign off is that I first came to this country 20 years ago. And I spent about 2 months here. And I fell in love with it. Its diversity, its beauty, the focus on lifelong learning, the passion, the commitment to community, all of those things. What an honor it is for me to have a chance to come back time and again and build relationships with each of you. It is really the honor of a lifetime. Congratulations to all of you on all of your success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graham, for those inspiring words. I'm sure people, not only in India, but around the world, really value what you speak. Thank you once again. Let's have a big round of applause for Graham. Thank you.
And maybe request and invite Mr. Hemu sir on the stage for the felicitation.
Graham,
and you too, sir. Well, this time we present Subodh's Antel International gift along with the bouquet. And let's hear once again your applause, please. Thank you very much.
So much nicer. Well, just for the benefit of some new members here, Graham is the chairman and CEO of BNI, a position he has held since 2014, and he also serves as a director of the BNI Foundation. Originally from Virginia, Graham lives with his family in Charlotte, North Carolina. He and his wife Sarah a pediatric emergency room doctor, enjoy movie time with their 3 children, playing with their new puppy, weekend trips in their camper, and traveling throughout the world. And if I may so add, a very enthusiastic dancer. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Graham. Thank you. Moving along. How many of you here would like to build a good brand, a big brand, with a relatively small budget? How many? Yeah, that many. Wow. So that exactly is our next topic for the panel discussion. Before I invite the panelists on stage here, I'm going to invite the gentleman who's going to be the moderator for this panel discussion. Building big brands with a relatively small budget. Our moderator for the day is none other than Adi Pocha. Adi was a creative director at Lintas, where he was responsible for the iconic Kama Sutra campaign with Pooja Bedi. He was on the board of directors of UTV, where he created the very first show on ZTV, the hit show Saap Seedi. He also created, wrote, directed, and executively produced India's first daily soap, Shanti, with Mandira Bedi. He has written 2 books which are awaiting publication, and has written a fortnightly column in the Indian Express for 10 years. Today, he has a full-service production company, Squircle Productions, which specializes in corporate films. Please welcome as the moderator for this branding panel, our very own senior DC from Mumbai West, Adi Pocha.
Good morning, BNI!
Okay, so moving on to the first speaker, we have Kiran Khalap. Born in 1958, juggles 3 passions and 1 career. His passion are writing, rock climbing, and spiritual evaluation. Well, to tell you about his recent publication, he has published 2 books of fiction, Halfway Up the Mountain and 2 pronouns and a verb, 1 more, Black River Run, and non-fiction, Brands and Bullshit, waiting publication.
Please welcome Kiran Khalap.
Thank you, Kiran.
Ashish Bhasin is a well-known personality in advertising and media industry in Asia Pacific for the past 30 years. He is presently chairman and CEO for Dentsu Aegis Network South Asia. Please welcome him on the stage with your applause, everyone.
Thank you.
Ashish Bhasin.
And for our final panelist, it is indeed my pleasure to invite the ad guru, as he's popularly known, Mr. Prahlad Kakkar. Prahlad founded his firm Genesis Film Production in 1977 and has virtually invented a genre of television advertising in India in the years that followed. He has, to name just a few, memorable campaigns created for brands like Pepsi, Yahi Hai Right Choice Baby, Aha, The Gold Spot, Zing Ting, Maggie's 2 Minutes, and Britannia's very famous Ting Ting Ta Ding. Yes, other than that, if I may so add, his passion for food and people has proved instrumental in his association with a variety of restaurants, enabling him to introduce diverse tastes and styles of dining to the city of Mumbai. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Prahlad Kakkar. Over to you, Adi.
Thank you, Mayank. So BNI, good morning!
Good morning.
I
Okay.
thought it was evening.
Yes, Kakkad, you've got a lot to learn. We'd share some stuff with you in a bit.
The sun shines out of both ends, is it?
Yes, it does. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to do the Crorepati slot. I'm not going to do the Who Wants to be a Millionaire Ed slot today. But I do want to ask the question, how many of you want to build really big brands? 100 crores, 1,000 crores, right? If every hand in the book, in this hall is not up, then we've got a problem, right? So these gentlemen have actually helped businesses build really huge brands, okay? They also happen to all be very good friends of mine. I've met them along the way in my advertising career, and I am extremely thankful to them for being here today. I'm going to start by asking, I'm not going to ask Prahlad the first question because that's extremely dangerous. I'm going to start by asking Kiran Khalap the first question. Kiran, if you could just very quickly for us define what is a brand, okay? Because there's a lot of confusion on what is a brand. If you could just tell us, as a brand consultant, what is a brand?
Yeah, good question. Let us begin by defining what is not a brand. So having a brand name does not create a brand. Vodafone was Orange before that it was Max Touch, and yet even today Vodafone in Mumbai has twice the ARPU as any other brand. A logo is not a brand. So Apple has changed its logo 4 times. It still doesn't matter to people. They still buy the most expensive iPhones. Just your reputation is not the brand. So many companies win many awards and then the next time they are all down. So if you want, and if you look up, if you Google it, you'll get about 10 million definitions. So the one which we prefer, which I like the most, which we use and which we have used for over 200 brands, is that the brand fundamentally is an idea. It's an unchanging idea. You heard Graham say that the fundamental idea behind BNI is collaboration. It's a powerful one-word definition of what BNI is. For instance, I was fortunate to work on the world's biggest brand, which is Aadhaar. And Aadhaar is not about biometrics. Aadhaar is not about thumbprints. Aadhaar says, my belief, the big idea that drives me, is equality of opportunity. Every single Indian, or anybody living in India, should have equality of opportunity. The farmer in Sarai Mohana, Prahlad Kakkad here, somebody sitting in the south. So I will work for equality of opportunity. You were talking about big brands. We work with a brand called Indigo Paints. When they came to us in 2011, they were 50 crores. Today they are 500 crores. And the single idea that drove them, the single belief system that they had, which was defined in 2011, was always find surprising solutions. So if there is any brand which is going to bring mosquito repellent paint in India, I can guarantee you it will be Indigo Paints first. So everything that they do is surprising. So that first, therefore I would urge you, whatever size you are, not to waste time on logos and brand names. Spend time with yourself, figuring out what your belief system is, what you believe in, what is the idea driving you, and what is the idea that should drive your employees. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Fantastic. I'll go to Ashish now. Ashish, how has building a brand changed, in today's world from our days as young kids in advertising to where we now have a little bit of gray hair? How has building a brand changed? What's the contrast then and now? What's changed?
I think the single biggest change that has happened over the last 30 years, just to peg our age right, that 30 years that I've been in advertising, we were always used to giving a message to the consumer. We grew up in a broadcast medium, right? So you would have a great idea. I would go and sell it to a client, and then we would both go to Prahlad. He would make a nice film, and we would put it on air. Or you would make a print ad, etc. But the message was in your control. You were crafting it, and you were putting the message whatever you wanted. Today, what has dramatically changed is that the message is no longer in your control. It's completely in the control of the consumer, largely because of social media, largely because of digital. Good example of that is British Airways. They spent maybe 20, 50, 70 crores every year in India trying to build a brand because Britain and India have a great connection. One day they lost Tendulkar's bag. They delayed it by, it didn't come on the flight. And Tendulkar, Sachin tweeted, and they just gave one of those automated responses saying, please tell us who you are, what's your name, what do you do, one of those kind of thing. And within hours, there were 17 million retweets all over the world. So I think the single biggest message that any brand owner has to learn today, that the brand is no longer in your hand, it is what the consumer makes out of it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ashish. Finally, I come to Prahlad, and this part kind of worries me because I never know what this man is going to do. Prahlad, how important is the big idea? Is that still relevant? And can you give us some examples of brand building then, now, anytime?
Adi, a brand is really all about trust. When you build a brand, what you're trying to build is a bridge between the manufacturer and the consumer, and the bridge is trust. So, what do you trust in life? You trust somebody who has similar values. So, when you look at a brand, it's not an inanimate thing. It's not a bottle of water. When you look at building value into the brand, you can't turn around and say, okay, this is a bottle with some water in it, and it's better water or clearer water than somebody else's water. It's not good enough. Because human beings tend to relate to only other human beings. They don't relate to machines. They don't even relate to computers anymore. So, if you don't put a human value into your brand, if your brand doesn't represent a person, then there's no traction. So, when you create a brand, the first thing that you do in the creation of a brand is like the birth of a child in your family. What is the first thing you do with the child? You give it a name. Why do you give it a name? Because a name has a lot of meaning behind it. There's a historical meaning behind its name. So take for instance, you name your brand Veer. Veer means courage, compassion, generosity, and so forth. And these are the things that you want your child to have. So you give him a name and you build into him the business of storytelling. And for the rest of his time when he's growing up, the mother, the grandmother sits down and tells him stories about what his name stands for. So that when the child grows up, just like a brand, then he is imbibed with the meaning of the value of his name. And with the stories that he hears, he then feels that he is going to deliver the same values as a person or as a brand, because that's his name.
And you've actually built a brand. You've actually built your own brand, not just Prahlad Kakkar, but you've actually built a brand as in a restaurant, if I remember right. And
well,
will you tell us a little bit?
Well, we started a Punjabi dhaba, a Punjabi restaurant, which was a home away from home for all Punjabis, including Mr. Bhasin here, who I'm sure has eaten there. But we didn't have any money to advertise it. So we said it's very important to give it a name that has traction, which has some meaning and relevance for everybody. Now we said that most Punjabis are from North India,